This is a brief tutorial on how to use Pinterest to curate and share resources. First, you're going to need to create an account if you don't already have one. You can sign up with Facebook or you can sign up with an email account. If you already have an account, you can click on Login Now, and Pinterest allows you to log in with your Facebook, Google, or Twitter accounts. I'm going to go ahead and just log in with my email account for now. Pinterest will take you to your wall, which is basically a live feed of the most recent pins that you've pinned or that any pinners you are following have pinned. So I can see that Nikki Robertson recently pinned Apples versus Oranges Google Tool Offers Ultimate Nutrition Smackdown. I might want to repin this, and I can either pin it, I can send it to someone, or I could like it by clicking on the heart. I'm going to go ahead and pin this to my Google board. You can see that I have a lot of boards. You can notice from here they're organized alphabetically. I'm going to pin it on my Google Apps for Education board. If I wanted to change the description or add anything, I can do that here. And I simply click on Pin It, and that has been pinned to my Google Apps board. If I wanted to send that to someone, I could send it to fellow pinners. I could search by their email address. I can also click up here and send them a little message if I wanted to do that. If you're new to Pinterest, you're going to want to start by creating some boards. On the top right, the white plus sign behind with the red background allows you to upload a pin, add a pin from a website, or create a board. I'm going to go ahead and create a board. I do not yet have a board called Open Educational Resources, so I will create that board. You can add a description of what your board is about if you want to. I'm going to skip that for right now. What kind of board is it? You're going to want to categorize your board. I'm going to categorize mine under education. That helps people to decide whether they want to follow your board. Also, if someone goes to the education board, you can search Pinterest by these categories, and so if I go to the education page, I will see other pins that fall under this category. You can add a map to your pin so that you can curate by location if you want to. I'm not going to do that right now. Or you can create secret boards if you want to. So if I were creating a board perhaps about planning for my mother's 65th surprise birthday party, I could create a secret board so that she can't see it. And I could also add my siblings on. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and create this board. The other thing I will show you right now is how to search Pinterest, and we will search for a pin to add to our new board. Over here on the top left, you can see that this is where I can search by category. So I could search by that education category if I wanted to. If I click on that, it's going to take me to this category, and I'm going to see the pins that have recently been pinned. Or I can simply search, and I'll go ahead and do a search for Open Educational Resources. And when you search in Pinterest, you can narrow your search either by all pins or by just my pins. So let's see if I've actually, and I have pinned a few Open Educational Resources to some of my currently existing boards. Let's go ahead and go back to all pins though for now. I can also search by board. So right now it's searching for Open Educational Resources by pins. I can see if other people have Open Educational Resources boards, and they do. So perhaps I might want to follow some of their boards. You can also search by pinner. And so probably no one is named Open Educational Resources. Man, they aren't. Let's go ahead and go back though to all pins. And let's choose a pin to pin to our new board. So here is a blog post from Edutopia on transitioning, a certain school transitioning to Open Educational Resources, and it offers 4 OER options to get started. So that looks like a good pin. I'm going to go ahead and select the Pin It button. Again, I can send this pin to someone on Pinterest if I want to, or I could like this pin. If I didn't want to pin it to a board, I just want to like it. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. It's going to take me to the drop-down menu with all of my boards. You can actually also create a new board from here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through and find my Open Educational Resource Board and click Pin It, and that pin is now pinned to my new board. The other thing I can do is, let's go ahead and go to all of my boards. Actually, let me just show you up here on the top right, the little two thumbtack symbols. That shows my notifications. That will show me who has started following any of my boards, so I can see 2 people and 46 others have followed my Twitter resources boards, and I can scroll down and just see what kind of activity has been happening, who's been repinning or following me. When you click on the image icon of my name, I have a couple of options down here. I can find friends, I can follow boards, I can visit the help center or log out. Let's look at settings for just a moment. In your settings is where you can change your email address, your password. You can also update your profile, choose your language, country, your search privacy. Do you want people to be able to find you in a Google search, for example? And I do not keep mine private. And then you can decide what kind of information you want Pinterest to share with you. And down here, the email notifications, how frequently do you want to get email notifications? And because I have several followers and a lot of activity on my Pinterest account, I choose to only get a daily digest of when someone has pinned or liked my pins or follows one of my boards, because as my followers increased, it just started the number of emails began to get a little bit overwhelming. Also, you can get emailed when someone comments on any of your pins, sends you a pin, and so forth. You can also connect Pinterest to other social networks if you want to. Okay, clicking back up here will take us, let's go ahead and go to our profile and pins area. And this is where I can see a little bit about my profile. If I wanted to click on someone else's profile, I could see information about this pinner. Here's another place where I can edit my information, and it's a good idea to go ahead and include some information in the About You section. I think that helps people decide whether they want to follow you on Pinterest or not. There's a dashboard. I can see that I have 88 boards, so that includes my newly created Open Educational Resources board. I've pinned over 12,000 pins. I clearly love Pinterest. I have over 1,000 likes. I can even send my profile to someone to share it with them if I wanted to. I have over 1,400 followers, and I'm following over 250 people. Here's another place where I can create a new board if I want to. So there are several places that you can do some of the things in Pinterest, like pin something or create a board or share. When you hover over your boards, you actually don't even have to hover over it. I can see how many pins I have in each board. And if I click on edit, I can edit the title of that board. I could add a description. I can change the category of a board if I wanted to, add a map, or you can also add collaborators to your board. So I could invite any one of you to pin to my food and libations board with me. I can also delete this board if I want to. Okay. And you can see that you can organize your boards. I've organized mine by subject areas for some of my teachers. So social studies teachers, I will pin things that I might want to share with social studies teachers, or that people who are social studies teachers might want to follow this board. I have one for YA books, Common Core, educational technology, and you can see I have almost 1,000 pins, so I started actually adding some boards to break that down into a little bit narrower topics. A lot of my boards are based on curating content for the library. I have infographics, and these are mostly educational or library-related infographics. Teen Library Program, where I add all kinds of ideas for themed library programs. virtual field trips. Probably one of my most popular boards is my Google Apps for Education board. California School Library Association is a board that Jane Lofton invited me to co-curate with her, and I believe Laurel Bullock is also on there. And I think Marie Slim used to be on this board as well. And so Jane has actually added most of these, but I can add pins to this board as well. So creating group boards is a good idea. We could create one for this class, and as librarians, we could all add to it together and share resources. If I want to change the cover of one of my pin boards, I can simply hover over that board and click Change Cover, and it will actually let me click through and look at all of the images that have been pinned within that board, and I could choose another pin that would represent the cover of that board if I want to. In addition to liking and pinning other people's pins, and anytime you click, by the way, on Pinterest, it just takes you back to your main feed, you can actually comment on a pin. So once I click on the pin, I can scroll down and I can add a comment onto a pin if I want to say something about it. And your comments will show up in a Google search, so just be aware of that. And again, by default, all of your pins are public. So unless you make a board a secret board, it is publicly searchable. If you want to pin something from the web, you can download the Pin It button, which will allow you to go ahead and grab any kind of an image from a website. And let's just go ahead and go to the CSLA website. And if I wanted to pin something from this website, once I've installed the Pin It button, I can click on that and it will search the web page for images, and then I could pin any of these images to my board. The other thing that I want to show you is that when I'm on that website, if I want to include some of the text, maybe I want to pin something about this Digital Citizenship Summit, I can, and I just did Control-C to copy that. Now when I go to the Pin It button, it's going to automatically copy that text or paste that text into all of these images, so that if I decide that I want to pin this to one of my boards, and it's going to go ahead and open up my boards, and I can go through and decide maybe I want to add this to my digital citizenship board, and I could just click and pin it, and now it will pin that. So you can edit the text again if you want to. And notice when you're scrolling through your boards, you will notice the boards that have the little icon of 3 people. That means that it's a group board. So I'm not actually going to pin that right now. And you can get the Pin It button by going into Visit Help Center and just searching for Add Pin Button. And it will tell you how to add the Pin It button to, you could either add a button to your website so that when someone is visiting your website, they can quickly pin images from your website to their pin boards, or you can add the Pin It button right here, as I've done, so that it will show up in your bookmarks bar so that you can quickly pin from the web. There's also an app for the iPhone and probably for the Android as well, so that you can use Pinterest on your mobile devices. One thing to keep in mind with Pinterest, as with any Web 2.0 or social media tool, is copyright. And Pinterest does have a copyright policy that they follow. And if you've pinned if you've pinned something that causes someone to feel that their copyright has been violated, they can request that Pinterest remove that pin, and Pinterest will delete the pin and send you a notification. There's also a form that you can complete to challenge that if you disagree with that. But Pinterest has improved some of its integration with Flickr, YouTube, and Vimeo, for example, and they have created some HTML code that a user can paste onto his or her, copy onto his or her website so that you actually cannot pin images from that site. So they can prohibit you from pinning images from their site if they want to protect their copyright. Also, if someone has Creative Commons licensed their work and they do want you to be able to pin it, Pinterest, there's also YouTube and Flickr have now built in the Pinterest, the little pin it button, so that you can pin directly from Flickr, and it automatically includes the attribution of the pinned image. Best practice, of course, is just to make sure that you are giving attribution, and that if you are using Pinterest with students, for example, to have them curate resources for some kind of a research project, that you're teaching them to always give attribution as well. And so that would be where you might want to go in when you're pinning something, and in the description, just make sure that you have included some information that does give some attribution. And of course, if anything is copyright, if it would be a copyright violation, simply don't pin it. If you're unsure, you can also try to contact the copyright holder and ask for permission. Some of the educational uses for Pinterest for librarians, again, I've touched on some of them, but just to go over a few more, perhaps curating boards for library programming such as Teen Read Week, Teen Tech Week, Banned Books Week, Read Across America. I have a books to movies board in here somewhere. So for all of the, I'm a high school librarian, all of the YA books that are being turned into movies, I add those to a board. And this actually allows my library assistant to be able to just go in and look at my board if she is creating some kind of a books to movies display, and she doesn't even have to have a Pinterest account, so she can go in and see what I've been adding, and I don't actually even have to send anything to her. Students could collaborate on curating a board of resources for a project. You could use it to promote new books, book trailers, research tools, tutorials for teachers on how to use Glogster or Google Drive or Web 2.0 tools. I have one for Twitter resources, and they're primarily Twitter resources for educators. And so I'm not sure where my Twitter board went. I have so many. I have one for Edmodo as well. And so I have a few people who use Edmodo and follow that board to try to keep up with any new information for Edmodo. So it's just a way to bookmark and share resources. It's also good for data because you can see how many people have repinned or like your pins, so you know which of your boards are actually have some influence or are reaching people, and kind of see if you're using it for library promotion. It could tell you what is or isn't working. So one of the things that Joe Murphy, he's an academic librarian, said about Pinterest is that it shifts the narrative of discovery and visual curation. And since we just finished talking about visual literacy, I thought that was an interesting observation on his part. He also talked about how it reflects current trends of social curation and online sharing, and that libraries can use it to create a visual resource guide. And so it's just a good way to promote our libraries, promote our resources. We can also use it to curate resources that we want to share with our teachers or library users. And so I've included some links to, actually, Joe Murphy had a presentation. I've included the reference for that, and Pinterest copyright policies, and also a blog post by Nancy Sims, a copyright librarian, about Pinterest copyright and Pinterest terms of service. That's basically, in that post, she tries to allay some fear about copyright violation and Pinterest. So that's Pinterest in a nutshell.